We all know that names are very important. It's not just to be able to say, hey, you, especially when it comes to names of the Torah, biblical names, the names of the Torah itself, of the Bible, the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, the 5 books, Bereshis, Shemos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Devarim, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. But what is the meaning of those names? Today, I want to focus on that for a moment because we're starting the new book, Bamidbar. But before we do that, let's take the book of Tehillim, King David's book, so to say, and recite chapter 100 to thank God for the miracles that He did, miracles that He's doing, and the ultimate miracle, the miracle of redemption. So, Mizmor L'Soida, join me. Mizmor L'Soida, Riel Adonai Kol HaOretz, Ivdu Es Adonai B'simcha Bo Elefanav Birnana, D'u Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, Hu Asanu V'lo Anachnu Ame B'tzoi Marisai, Bo Yishoru B'Soida, Chatzeroisa B'Sila Hoydo L'Bocher Shemoi Ki Tov Adonai L'Olam Chazdoi V'Yad Dor V'Dor Emunasoi. Forever, our faith and His faith in us. Let's give some tzedakah together. And so, names. The first book of the Torah is called Bereshis. Bereshis, literally translated, means in the beginning. And indeed, Torah talks about a beginning. It's called Genesis, which is the, I think, Greek word for the word beginning. Torah begins with telling us the creation of the world, creation of mankind, the beginning of civilization, or maybe uncivilization, challenges Adam, Noach, and all the different stories setting up the background for the coming into being of Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the 12 tribes, the beginning of the Jewish people. The beginning. Then we have the book of Shemos. Shemos, which actually translates as names. The common word is called Exodus. They call it Exodus because we're talking about the fact that the Jewish people, the Bnei Israel, left Egypt after being enslaved. And the Exodus actually is a constant process. We are always in a process of coming out of our own personal Egypt with the ultimate redemption. But the book of Shemos describes how Hashem took, as we said, one nation out of another nation and forged a new identity, a new name. Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, the children of Israel. The third book, Vayikra. Vayikra, which translates as, and He called. In other words, God is calling us to action. A call to action. The common name is Leviticus. The reason is because, as we know, the tribe of Levites, they were the one dedicated entirely to the service of Hashem in the temple, teaching Torah, preserving Judaism, preserving the message of God. But the word is Vayikra, and He called, for us to remember. There's there's a constant call to action. And indeed, that's where the Torah discusses all about the laws of purity and impurity. The Torah discusses the whole process of serving in the temple. It doesn't mean only in the temple and the Beis HaMikdash. Our life is like a temple, that we constantly have to be aware and conscious of the fact that we are always at your service, so to say. We're always expected to serve Hashem in everything that we do. Then comes Bamidbar. Bamidbar, which is where God counts the people. Bamidbar, which translates as in the desert. In fact, the first words of the pasuk is Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe b'midbar Sinai, and God spoke to Moses in the desert of Sinai. So they grabbed the word Bamidbar, but in English they call it numbers because there was the census was taken. But it is more than this. Bamidbar tells us the call to action that we have received in Vayikra is what? That in the desert, the world is like a desert. void of godliness, void of growth, void of God's presence. So we are called to action in this desert for us to realize that our task, our responsibility is what? To transform the desert into a blooming paradise, into a blooming garden. How so? Obviously, by doing the mitzvahs, which comes Eila Devarim. Those are the words, the godly words that Moshe Rabbeinu repeats again, reviews everything that God had said, all the commandments. So Bamidbar, which is always just before Shavuot, before the holiday of the giving of the Torah, to tell us, this desert must be made into the garden for God. And this will be perfected and fulfilled with the coming of Mashiach, God willing, right now.